my end.
There you go.
All right, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. I am your host, Sean Williams, aka Mr. President, and welcome to the Safe
Okay.
Room, where we have a safe space for entrepreneurs and business owners to share their personal and professional stories. And today, I have a fantastic guest. It's been 1 year. You heard me. 1 year in the making for this conversation. So I feel like I gotta do justice on this introduction. So I got the bio pulled up. Okay, I got it pulled up for my man Kareem. So before we get into it, Kareem Perez delivers high impact and action oriented keynotes, presentations, and workshops to empower students and professionals to maximize their potential and train businesses to succeed in the digital economy. Now, I hope you guys pay attention to that last part, the digital economy, because we're going to be talking about that for majority of the conversation. But let me just tell you about this gentleman right here. I met him back at a wonderful event called the Key to Entrepreneurship, and we have been in connection ever since. He is the founder of the Tech Effect, and honestly, this gentleman right here is putting in the work. He is putting in the work. So, without further ado, I have to introduce my main man, Mr. Kareem Perez. Kareem, my brother, how are you doing?
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for that intro. I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thanks, Sean, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. Like you said, 1 year in the making. I'm excited to be here. Let's talk, man. Let's build.
Definitely, man. Definitely, man. It's been a long journey. If anyone knew about how long we've been trying to get Kareem on the show, it's been a long process. Whether it's my schedule had to be rearranged or Kareem's schedule had to be rearranged, whether like we both had our own stuff and we were growing. We were both growing.
Yeah.
But man, like I low-key felt like this conversation should have been done since like maybe the beginning of like this year at worst. But it was like fate had a different story.
Well, I mean, now you got more to talk about. Now you got more to talk about. A lot popped off this year. So
That's true. Very, very true. And we're definitely going to get into the details about the tech effect. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk about the digital economy. Again, when it comes to digital marketing and tech right now, it's at its peak and everyone's getting invested. We were talking about this before we went on live. So I'm very excited to have you on to share your expertise, some of the different trends and insights that you've been seeing, and even talk about some of the programs the tech effect is doing to
mhm.
not only address it but help people to navigate within the digital economy. So I hope you guys got your notepads, I hope you got your pens ready because class
Yeah.
is in session.
Real.
All right. But before we get into the main questions, we have to start with our opening segment. We have to start with the hot seat. Now, Kareem, I know the name may sound intimidating, but it's very, very chill, man. All I have is 4 questions, and I want you to answer them to your best abilities, okay?
All right, man. Let's get it.
All right, perfect, perfect. So the first question I have right here. So outside of the work that you do, tell me something about yourself in 1 sentence.
Yeah, okay. Outside of the work that I do, tell me about myself. Yeah, so outside of the work, my day to day, the digital skills, upskilling stuff, I would say that, um, I'm a high performer. I'm a high performer. I like to think about how I can excel at the highest level in different areas of life. So, high performance mentality is what I bring to anything that I do. I'm pretty extreme, right? So whether it's like fitness or building knowledge, learning, or, personal relationships, I'm always looking for the next way to get better every single day.
Yeah, definitely. And I can definitely, I can attest to the fitness thing because I've been seeing some of your stories. You're saying you've been waking up at 5 in the morning. Guys, that's dedication. That is dedication. But even just from seeing you and just the amazing work that you've done, again, I can tell you care about the high performance, whether it's, being a keynote speaker or hosting some of the different programs, the various programs for the Tech Effect, or even being a mentor. I know we've had our separate conversations and you've given me advice in a way where I've been able to grow and see a lot of, professional development. I really just want to say thank you for being a mentor in my
Oh,
eyes,
no.
helping me to just, stick on paths, just stay on the right path to be able to do what I need to do. So I definitely see that value. And I think a lot of people see that value in you. That's why I feel like you're not only one of the most hardworking people I know, you're probably one of the most likable people that I know as one. I think a lot of people could
So,
attest to that who's probably watching this conversation right now.
yeah, that's dope. That's dope. And I think like appreciate that, you know what I'm saying, no doubt. And appreciate the recognition. And that's what community and teamwork is all about. It's like group accountability, you know what I'm saying? So we can all support each other. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about leading by example, you know what I mean? So it's like if you're not willing to put in that work, people around you are not going to be willing to put in that work either. So, one of the big, I don't know if this is going to come up later, but one of the biggest realizations that I have is like, you can't really control the outcome of certain situations. All you could do is put your best foot forward, you know what I'm saying? Practice, prepare as best as possible, and just leave it on the court, leave it on the court, man, whatever happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely,
So
definitely.
yeah, so for me, waking up early, that's just a challenge that I set for myself, like I'm gonna do this consistently over time and see if I can accomplish it. And people get inspired by it. Sometimes I fall off and I'm like, yo, a couple weeks go by and I can't do it. But yeah, you just gotta keep resilient.
That's a word right there. And I'm looking at the chat. I see Nikisha, Nikki, what's up?
Okay. Where's the
Kareem
chat? I
is
can't even see the chat right now.
it should be on your side, but I
Okay,
can
I got
see it.
on
No,
full screen. Okay.
I got you. I got you. But
I
Nikki
see it
says
now. I see it
Kareem
now.
is definitely appreciated from day one,
What's
of
up,
course.
Nikki? What's
Shout
up?
out to
And yo,
Nikki
big up
real
to
quick.
Nikki, because yo, Nikki's the one who connected us. You know what I'm saying? So Nikki the connector. Every time I get on these calls, I gotta big her up because she plugged me into so many different things. Um, but yeah, man, 5 a.m. Meet me there.
Definitely for sure. Definitely for sure. All right. Going on to the second question for the hot seat segment. So, Kareem, I want you to name a previous event that you've referenced to someone. So, what I mean by that, you can name any event that maybe you told someone that you've attended, and let's say that event, honestly, like it changed you. It kind of gave you that type of like vibe, or you learned so much valuable information from this event, or maybe you met a good connection at this event and you felt like, you know what, I really want to tell this one person about an event I went to previously, how it changed my life, how it changed me for the better. I know this is kind of it's a sticky question, but if you do have an event probably in the back of your mind that if you were to like reference to someone, like, or you have reference to someone, what would it
Yeah.
be?
Well, yeah, obviously we gotta hit the cookout, right? Because the cookout is the best event that has ever impacted me. And that's because I've seen it impact so many different people, right? But the cookout is an event that the Tech Effect put on, not this year, 2024. We kind of pulled back a little bit, prepare for next year. But last year, 2023, we did a series of events in partnership with Black Coffee Communications and Workplace One. And yeah, man, we brought together BIPOC professionals, over 75 people every single event. We had 5 different ones. We had different guest speakers. Um, but the thing about that is I've heard so many stories since then of people who have like connected from there, done business from there, became really good friends, and helped each other get jobs and things like that from there. So, sometimes when we do things, we don't see the immediate impact, or like, it's not a tangible result right in front of you at the time. But once you spread your kind of like you spread your work and you help people, it kind of comes back over time. Right. And yeah, that's what I find, man. And actually, so funny story. Um, there was like a moving company from Niagara Falls. and I see, and they were coming and they were moving some stuff, and the guy goes, "Yo, I follow you online." Right? So he goes that to me, he goes, "Yo," when I saw him, he ran up to me, he goes, "Yo, what's going on?" Like he's my brethren, right? And I'm like, I don't know, like I know of this guy, but I never met him before, right? And he comes
Mm-hmm.
up to me and he's like, "Yeah, I follow you online. I see you working out. I see you doing training, this, that, or whatever." Right. So I'm like, okay, dope. And I was like telling him, I'm like, "Oh, we do events and everything." And he goes, "Yo, the cookout, the cookout. I seen that. I seen that." So yeah, man, it's out there, and the thing is, the thing actually, what I do love about that, and what I did want to talk about today was, the art of gathering, right? Bringing people together, which is something that we were very intentional about how we did it, when we brought, when we put that event on. And there's a lot of events happening, but there's something that we need to reframe in terms of when we bring people together, like have a specific purpose around it, have a specific outcome around it, and just be like a little bit more selective in terms of how we approach it. And that's what we did with the cookout, and it worked really well. So we're looking to like build on that. Yeah,
Mm.
build on that, so have more of like, linking up is cool, but what are some of the outcomes and the things that are happening in terms of impact in people's careers and lives, connections, and going back to what we said in the beginning, accountability. We got to help each other make sure that we make moves. We don't just show up and say, okay, yeah, it's cool, have some drinks, whatever. You got to actually take action and make change. But yeah, hit me up, Nikki. What
Definitely.
up?
Definitely. And like I want to kind of add on to that because again, I feel like the cookout is like a perfect fusion where you're going there to have a good time and meet up with people and like kind of catch up on things, but it's also the perfect opportunity to build those partnerships. So one thing and one aspect I actually really appreciated from the cookout is that there was always a portion where you would have like a keynote speaker or a guest speaker to come in to talk about,
Mhm.
their industry, how their business is, what they've done to reach a successful point right now, and how they're striving within their own business. I think that was really good because it's not just having the networking, but having those people in the room to tell you what next steps that you need to take. That's, I think, is super important. And another thing I really appreciated is that there was a little portion which you allowed the crowd, the audience, to kind of give like a 30-second pitch. And pitching, guys, it ain't easy. It ain't for the weak. I need to get into pitching myself, but it is hard. But I think stuff like that, it allows us to really, I guess, harness our true powers as entrepreneurs and really understand that we have a value not to ourselves but to our audience and who we want to serve and how we want to partner with other people. So I feel like the cookout was definitely an event from last year that ever since the first one I attended to, I did not miss a single one afterwards. I was
Yeah,
there
yeah, yeah.
every single time. And I'm a little sad that there wasn't one this year, Kareem, but I'm counting for 2025. Okay. You're on watch right now. Okay. You're on watch by me, by Nikki, by everyone listening. The cookout better come back. Okay.
It's coming back. Honestly, it didn't actually go anywhere, and that's kind of what I was saying is like the Cookout 2.0 is gonna be similar but next level, you know. I think I lost you. Where you at?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. My
I'm
screen
still
changed.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Oh no, yeah.
yes.
That's just our camera team. There's with the images. So sometimes they'll put it on me. They'll put it on you. Don't worry.
Oh,
I
okay,
don't
okay. Yeah,
disappear.
yeah. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. And yeah, like, something else that I wanted to mention just in terms of like strategy and business is like we had so many different angles um in terms of our marketing with the cookout, right? So we had the event marketing piece where people, obviously signed up and registered. So we built a large community based on that. Um, and then we also had, like you said, we had the interviews, right? So we had the live on set podcast interviews, which turned into, podcast interview clips and content for social. So we had all of that, and then we had like we had food, we had guests, we had some entrepreneurs like food vendors and stuff set up their stuff there to build business from that. So it's just like it's pretty cool, when you see like the ability to kind of like impact other people in addition to the things you said, people sharing their businesses, getting keys. So and actually, part of why we have to rethink it is because uh, you know, another element that we need to tap into is spaces, right? Because a lot of times we weren't ready to leave, but the space had a curfew or a shutdown time or whatever. So it's like, but yeah, I just go back and I think about it, and it's like, yo, people were tapped in, they're networking. It was like a vibe that wanted to be continued, and we have to create a space that can accommodate that next level of accountability, networking, entrepreneurship, and building. So like, yeah, imagine you actually turned it into a working session. You're like, started building on creating content together while you're there. You know what I'm saying? Doing different things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah, man.
definitely for sure, for sure. I see Nikki's having a ball in the chat right now. We are so tapped. All right, I definitely want to move on to the next question. So Kareem, I want you to list me or name me an interesting fact that you rarely share about yourself.
Okay, so this is a pretty good one. So not, I mean, I guess it depends on when you met me, but depending on when you met me, but I used to do music, right? So a lot of people don't know, like when in terms of like my digital space, like my agency experience and working in like more corporate and agency in the digital sphere. Especially because I do a lot of speaking, right? Like I do a lot of speaking both virtually and in person and talking at different events and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that kind of comes from yeah, doing music. So I used to rap, I used to produce, I used to be in studios, I used to do shows, travel. I have a lot of friends in the music industry that do different things in different countries and tour and stuff like that. So yeah, so a lot of people don't know that, like in terms of the tech effect, like people who know the tech effect, they have no idea mostly about that. Um, but a pretty cool story is that when I joined my first agency, and that's when I stopped doing music, and I started like I just basically got into marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys that I worked with, like pretty like I worked with him for like a year or so. We were cool. We worked together a lot, and he was a drummer, right? So he's like, and I told him, I'm like, oh, I make music. So he like looked it up and he found it, right? And then he told me to send him my vocals. So I sent him my vocals, and then he drummed and like created all these like drum tracks over top of it. And it was kind of cool. Like it was kind of crazy because like nobody really knew that we were doing this. It was just like a thing like between me and him. Because
Mm.
again, I didn't really like promote that or tell people that, but yeah, that's what I used to do, man. I used to like in high school, kind of college days and whatever, like heavy in the hip hop scene.
All right. That's
Yeah.
definitely news to me because I don't think you told me that. I find
Heavy in
that
the hip hop scene.
yeah,
Yeah.
I find that very interesting because like I don't know if I told you this about myself, but like technically I do have like my own song that I didn't produce. I tried to produce my own song and well, that went completely left field. So I had to reach out to someone, but
Mm.
the whole thesis of that is I want to have like a special theme song for my show. So you know how you'll listen to a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and yes, sometimes you might just have like a basic intro, like you're listening to the safe room. But I thought, no, I want to like have a little bit of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like some instrumental, some music. So I reached out to a producer. He helped me create this track and, now anytime if you go back and listen to any of my episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, you hear in the first like 15 seconds that same instrumental. So that was the beat they produced. But I loved it so much that you know what? I'm actually gonna make a song out of it. So I actually did a little bit of rapping and singing myself on that, which I thought like was super funny. And the crazy part about this, I dropped the song on my birthday, which is coming up very soon, October 24th. So I think it will be 3 years up to that point since I dropped that song. So I feel like that's a little interesting fact that I may have not shared with a lot of people. So you now know.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope, man. Creative expression, you know?
Definitely, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
man.
Okay. Okay. Going on to the final question for this hot seat segment, then we're gonna get into the main questions. What is your personal safe room? So, what is a safe space? It could be physical, could be mental, that allows you to be your authentic self.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one. I think like the short answer is for me, that's the 5 a.m., the gym, I kind of just zone out. It's the concept of kind of like the world is not awake yet. You know what I'm saying? So there's no distractions. You could think openly and, kind of be self reflect, I guess. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I would say. But yeah, but otherwise, I think that yeah, I don't think it's a physical space, but I think it's like a mindset where you're really, really focused on what you can control, which is yourself, and blocking out all the external distractions, if you will. And yeah, and just like trusting yourself, right? And having faith in what your vision is. Because what I feel is like, um, if you're on a path, right,
Mm-hmm.
and you have different um distractions or alternatives or options pulling you in different directions, in my experience you always come back to, I should have just stayed on the path that I was on versus trying to take the other paths, right? Um so being in a state of focus where you can do that and not necessarily like be influenced by what other people think or what other people are going to say or what other people think is better or the idea is good or not. Yeah, I would say that's the safe space, because when you trust in yourself, I mean, it's just you kind of, there's no judgment, it's just so
Mm-hmm.
that's all it is, right? So
Definitely, definitely. And I think that's the best type of judgment to have when like, you trust in yourself and you believe in yourself. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, we'll go through that imposter syndrome and we'll kind of have that self-doubt about what we do is valid. Is this something that people actually want to invest like their time, their money, just their efforts into? And I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that we wouldn't be in this position if we didn't know that we did have that value. And I feel like this year has been that year of realization for me. So
mhm.
I don't look at every situation telling myself or question myself, oh, I don't know if this is going to work or like, do I belong here? I know like what I'm doing is right. And I know like I'm bringing value to someone, whatever that may be. I know I'm bringing the value. So I'm really glad that, you find that same type of sentiment in your own way. Again, having that strong mindset. Again, it kind of results back to you in the beginning when you said you're a high performer. It shows in that strong mindset. So I really love that.
Yeah, respect, man. It's like, yeah, you just get, it's all about like self-reflection, really, and that's the thing. It's like um there's so many stimulators around, right? It's like the people around you, the phone, the job, the work, the whatever. It's like being able to kind of like slow down matrix style and just be like, yo, okay, this is the way I see it too. It's the 80/20 principle, right?
Hmm.
80% of your gain is going to come from 20% of your work. So it's like, why are you running around doing the other 80? Like, just chill, focus on the 20, right? Don't overcomplicate it, don't overthink it. Like, again, it's a lot of like um unlearning, right? Like we're kind of like conditioned to be like hypersensitive to all these different algorithms, which is where the tech effect comes into play in like technology. But yeah, you got to control the algorithm, don't let it control you, pretty much.
Absolutely, absolutely. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're gonna get into the tech effect a little bit deeper, but again, for people who are just tuning in, you're listening to the Safe Room here on Love Bay Radio. We're here with our guest Kareem Perez. We just wrapped up our hot seat segment, and now we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Tech Effect, who Kareem is the founder of. And Kareem, the first question I want to ask you is just when starting the Tech Effect, how did you develop the structure of how it would operate? And what were some of the difficulties like throughout that process, making sure that you were addressing all the things and all the different problems, especially related to like technology, digital marketing, or even other aspects? Like, how did you try to make sure that everything was being covered, but also not trying to rush into everything as well? Because obviously there might have been certain things you wanted to cover, but maybe you had to kind of peel back a bit and kind of start on a small foundation. But just walk me through on just how the Tech Effect got started, just how
Mhm.
the process was, and how you were able to develop it from the beginning.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So the tech effect is an interesting thing because what it is now is never what I envisioned it to be. But the what it started off as was more of like a meetup. So similar to the cookout. When I was working in the digital agency space, a lot of people would come up to me and they would be like, "Hey, I want to work in marketing. I want to get into the agency. I want to work in tech. Like, what do I do?" Right? Like people looking for jobs. And they just didn't understand. Like I would ask them, okay, well, which path do you want to go? Like what skills do you have? And it just never matched up, right? Like people just confused. And because I was working in the agency and working with a high growth, right, which is like a high growth agency, hiring a lot of people, getting a lot of large clients, things like that. um, the agency was also a little bit, or like just agencies in general, they're a little bit unclear of like, okay, who should we hire? What type of talent do we need, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I kind of do that so I can bridge the gap. So I started the Tech Effect, and then pandemic happened. So we were doing meetups to start. Pandemic happened. We started doing online meetups. So that was challenge number one, right? Because we started as a meetup space in person, and then pandemic happened. So the first thing we did was pivot to online meetings, online webinars, which was okay. But actually, it was pretty interesting because we did something similar, like 5 events, and every event it had a drop off. So the first event there was like 60 people there. The second was like 40. Third was like 20. Right? Like people were just kind of dropping off. Um, so we pivoted away from that and we started getting into like mentorship and coaching because a lot of people now were changing jobs, right? So at the same time, people were like, well, hey, I want to get into marketing, I want to get into tech. So then I started doing like one-on-one coaching, I started doing group coaching, and then that's where the programming and the upskilling part came into play. Right. So then I started doing like a lot of workshops, and we started doing like a lot of workshops for like schools and different organizations and businesses. And at the same time, coaching and teaching people how to like get jobs, make connections in the digital space. Yeah. And then from there, what's interesting is we were doing more like one-on-one workshops or like one-off workshops, so like 2 hours, 3 hours. And then a few organizations started to ask us to like consult for them and build programs for them. And then that was like, I guess, kind of challenge number two, because rather than working with individuals, now we are working with organizations. So a lot of nonprofits, a lot of schools, and then we actually have to start building curriculum. And then some of the areas I have expertise in, and some of the areas I don't. So then I had to source instructors and subject matter experts to help build those curriculums. So that's been pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. And now one of our first programs, we're just approaching our 8th cohort in partnership. It's like a Python programming uh, course. It's for women, new Canadians that are trying to break into tech. And each cohort has about like 20 to 25 people, and we have our 8th cohort starting next week, I think. So that's pretty cool. So like when I first started that program, I was like, I didn't even kind of know what a program curriculum was, in a sense. Like I knew from a user perspective, but we had never built that. And that was the first one we built, and since then we've been working with other organizations doing the same thing.
Wow, that's
Yeah, so it's pretty
amazing.
cool, man. So like from meetup or from like meetup to training and coaching, and then training and coaching individuals to partnerships with organizations and training at scale, right? So now you're coming in and you're doing a training for 30 people, 50 people, 70 people. And actually, what's really cool, what I want to mention is we work with the Diversity Institute through TMU as well. And we did a social media workshop, and they said, they were like, oh, this is our biggest, this is like a month ago. They're like, oh, this is our biggest cohort so far. And I was like, oh, really? And when I was online, there was like 85, 90 people on Zoom, all Black youth. So that was pretty
Wow.
dope too. Yeah, it was dope, man. The energy was just crazy in that room. Like we were just popping off about different social media networks, and like it was dope, man. And I was kind of reflecting at that time too, thinking about like, man, I remember some of the first ones, maybe 2 people, 5 people, and now look, so
Yeah, definitely for sure. And it's good to reflect and see like where you started off and now where you're going right now. Cause it just reminds you again, you just have to stick to the work, be determined, be consistent. And, you definitely had a vision, even though it kind of evolved over time. I still feel like you had that same mindset that we talked about earlier on. And I feel like that's super good. I actually want to ask a follow-up question. So again, you said that
Mhm.
you've done so much, but originally, like, who was helping you with this? Was this something that you had like maybe let's not say like a team, but maybe a collective of people that you were able to lean on to kind of build that foundation for the tech effect, and then eventually you were able to establish a full-on team? Or was this something where you kind of solo dolo it? I don't believe you solo dolo. If you did, man, you are a trooper.
Yeah. Again, another kind of like crazy concept of life, right? Like definitely not solo dolo, right? Like I would say like, obviously the most consistent, most involved person over time. But there was like so many people that helped me. When I first started the Tech Effect, again, it was just like a meetup idea. So we started with design, right? It was just like, oh, we just need a flyer for people to meet up. We just need a logo. So like that's the same logo that you can see behind me here, but that's like our logo still. So building the brand visual, there was a graphic designer that helped me with that for like a year. Um, and then a connector who connected me with her as well. So we worked together at the start. And then after that, so they kind of helped me kind of launch the idea, take it out of my mind onto paper, right? And like they came to some of the first events and they were there since the beginning. Um, and
Mm.
then and then from there, okay, so yeah, going back to who helped. So we had a few events, and then what happened is then I took on my first intern, right? My first intern that I was speaking at schools, and then she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, I want to intern with the Tech Effect." And I was like, "Okay, let's do this." Like I had never really had an intern before. She went to George Brown because I was speaking at the different schools, and she helped me build the social media presence. Right, so she come helped me build the content plan and start building like the social and building a following, and like that has been repeated over time. So every semester or every couple of semesters, I'll have like students that I'm training or part of our programs or, coming from different schools or mentorship or co-ops or whatever. And then they'll help me for like that 3 to 4 to 6 months. And then they'll kind of leave, they get a job, right? Because they're always like, okay, I'm going to help the Tech Effect, no problem. But then they end up getting full time work, which is also cool, right? Because they're like, they always come to me, they go, oh, Kareem, I got a full time job now. I got to bounce, I got to do my thing. And I'm like, okay, perfect. And then from there, we basically continue where they left off. Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think
So
that's really great.
it's been like a very, very collaborative experience. And that's why like even with our events, it's also built through our speakers, so all of our amazing speakers that come to our events, our podcast conversations, we have people in the marketing industry that share their knowledge and drop keys on people. And so yeah, whatever kind of like angles we do, that's like it's a community build for us. And then we just pay it forward by teaching as much people as we can how to leverage the skill to earn more money, get better jobs, all that.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And I mean, like again, building a team it's very hard because I feel like it's acknowledging that when you see something to grow, so you start to see something to grow within your business, that you need to have more hands on deck. And I feel like when you're unable to do some of the most simplistic things about a business, then you definitely need help. So I guess another follow-up question I want to ask before I go on to my next question is, what would you encourage for people to start a team, or at least start finding people to help them, evolve their business, even though if it's something where like you're just unsure, you feel like maybe you just are not that much of a team player, but eventually you have to become that team player. Because I feel like with any business, you have to become that team player. You have to have that collaboration within your own circle. And I feel like for me, I'm in that process where I'm like, you know what? As much as I've been able to do so much by myself, I need to get an editor. So like, is it getting
Right,
an
right, right.
intern so that like I can have someone like, hey, this is how I can teach you the ropes of like doing like audio and video editing. Like there's things I can't focus on right now, like I used to, but maybe they can take part of it. And then maybe you offer them something, whether it is like, like a payment opportunity or maybe just some value, some knowledge. Like, what would you say to anyone listening? How would you encourage them, or what would you do to encourage them to start their own team or to build a team for their business?
Yeah, that's actually a really dope question, and that's like I would say probably the most important thing when it comes to entrepreneurship and business. I just wanted to kind of share a little bit of my about my experience. So when I was working in the agency, a lot of what I did was training and onboarding, right? So like when somebody gets hired, I was the person who kind of like rebuilt the sales process so that when a sale comes through, this is the information you get. And then this is the steps that you take to be successful, at running marketing campaigns and things like that. So very similarly, when you have your business, you have to create the system, right? So that when you bring somebody on and you onboard them, you have a clear definition of what you want them to do and how you want them to do it. Okay. Now, this is where I have a lot of experience, both from a like a corporate and business standpoint, but also from an experimental standpoint, where it's like I've done this many times and I've made many of the mistakes that nobody else should make, right? Because when you bring somebody on, you want them to hit the ground running versus spending a lot of time looking for documents, asking you questions, because um you're trying to offload some of your time and skill, right? So you're trying to get somebody else to do something, but it's going to take you a lot more time to do that if you don't have like a clear onboarding plan and a clear system of what they need to follow. So yeah, having that type of documentation and clear steps of what that should look like is the key, I would say, right? So um documenting your process, right? So for example, with the podcast, right? Like there's so many steps, right? You got to book the guest, you got to confirm the guest, you got to get the bio, the picture, then you got to record, then you got to edit, right? So it's like record it while you're doing it so you have that and then you can explain it and give it to somebody else very easily. So that's the first thing, because you're going to be bringing people on, right, to help you scale your business.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I would say is experience wise, building teams. This is like one of my favorite things to do and something that I've done a lot. And what I usually do and what we do as part of our mentorship programs and our branding programs is that we start with the strength assessment, right? So you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses. And the first thing is you have to identify is what you're good at and what you like doing versus what you're not good at and you don't like doing. So if you can't edit and you don't like doing it, and when you're doing it, you're kind of like, man, I don't really, then it's like, okay, well, if you have a team dynamic and everybody kind of has their strengths and weaknesses, then somebody that's really good at that, you can collaborate with them and they can take that off of your plate, right? So for example, like with me, like working in the agency space, you're working with like large scale budgets. People are spending $100,000 $200,000 a month. They have like 20, 30 different campaigns running, so you're looking at like bulk spreadsheets. So like I used to have to do that. It was part of like what I had to do. I never liked doing it. I never enjoyed doing it. And then when I became part of a team, right? Or I had like a team member and they were like, oh, I love doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, rather than having the ego to be like, I have to do it and I have to show and prove, I was like, okay, well, if you love doing it, then you do it. Like, I don't like doing it. And so then when you think about the different strengths and weaknesses of a team, that's what team that's what teamwork is all about, right? It's like, if you think about a basketball team, you got your shooter, you got your defender, you got your Dennis Rodman, you're gonna grab you your boards. Everybody plays their little role, and that's how you win championships. You know what I'm saying? But if everybody has the same skill and the same mindset and everybody wants to shoot or whatever, it's not gonna work. So you need people that like to talk, right? Like you need communicators that like talk a lot, but then you also need quiet people that love numbers.
Yeah.
Who's going to look in the data, right? Like some people, like I had one guy, we have a blog, right? And this is what I was saying, when we started the Tech Effect, we started with a blog. We're like, oh, we're going to blog about, once a week or once a month or whatever. So we had like 50 blogs. And one time I was interviewing a guy and he goes, I read every single 56 blogs that you had. And blog number 12, you talked about this. And I was like, right? A lot of people don't do that. You know what I mean? And then other people will come to me and they'll be like, oh, I looked at your design of your website and I figured out this and that. So it's like, once you find people with different skills and you put them all together in the right environment, that's when you see, that's when you see progress, you see success, you see like things happen that you would never expect.
Definitely, absolutely, for sure. And I think that's super important for anyone listening out there. So I hope you guys grabbed a lot of gems from that. I hope you guys grabbed a lot of gems for that.
Oh, it's heavy.
The next question I do want to get into, and I kind of want to just kind of skip a little bit further, is when looking at, the job market, because again, you have a lot of young people, a lot of youths who are trying to find jobs, trying to find employment full time. How do you feel like in terms of like digital skills? How do you feel in terms of like the dependency of it for like certain people to have like certain digital skills, depending on what the skills may be? Like, how important do you feel it is to have those skills that allows them to advance in, getting a job, or even if they're actually working right now a full time job, it allows them to enhance their skill set. It allows them to, grow, to be able to be a team player. Like, how important do you feel is having like the necessity of like certain digital skills for like a up and coming youth in terms of like trying to find their way within the workplace?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I would say like digital skills are really important, and that's kind of like it's the it's the solution to a problem that a business or a company has, right? So say for example, if I'm a brand or an organization and I'm like, I don't know how to use TikTok, right? Like I have no idea how this stuff works. Well, I'm going to look for somebody that has that skill set that can tell me, okay, this is how I post, this is how I do that, whatever, right? Same thing with running ads, same thing with like data analytics, all these different areas of digital and tech, coding, right? So when it comes to hiring, right, or even just business in general, it's all problem solution, right? Like somebody has a problem, right? So I'm a company. I'm like, I need to run ads. Well, I need somebody who can run Facebook ads for me, right? So if you have that skill, then that's the main entry point. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, I would say that's not the only thing, right? But the second thing would be um, leveraging digital tools to just make yourself look better, or just to like showcase um showcase your kind of like expertise a little bit more, right? So you have all these digital platforms. You can do all these type of things with video and content. You can leverage different online platforms like Zoom and Teams and a lot of these tools that are digital, right? They're everyday tools as part of like just communication and project management, but a lot of people are not using the full digital elements to it, right? Like when you're on these platforms, you can use a whiteboard and you can use like emojis and you can do all these different things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is another way to just showcase that, right? So, I've been using these different AI tools to take meetings and notes and stuff, right? Or to
Mm-hmm.
take notes in meetings, and the AI joins when I'm not there, right? So people go, "Oh, what's this?" And they go, "Oh, it's just Kareem's AI just taking notes," right? And they're like, "Okay, but do you guys teach AI?" Of course, yeah, because that's what we're doing. We're kind of testing out the tools, but we're using it at the same time, right? So when you go on LinkedIn or you go on these different platforms and social media, it's not necessarily about having millions of followers, but just show how these tools work, test them out and be at the forefront of leveraging these digital tools and skills and stuff.
Definitely, definitely for sure. I think that's super important. The reason why I asked that question, because I feel like there's also a lot of people who try to, find ways to, maximize as much digital skills as possible. Because again, when it comes to employment, you might see a job that, you need to be, proficient with like Adobe, or you need to be able to, work with Microsoft Office, whether it's like Excel or anything like that. And sometimes
Mhm.
having a or being limited in those skill sets can actually define whether you're able to get a job or to not get a job. So I feel like with the tech effect, I feel like you guys try to again fill in the gap. So whatever things that people are looking to obtain that allows them to be better in what they do, but also to find those employment opportunities. I think those are super important because I feel like for a lot of us, like again, you mentioned AI. Like AI has kind of been like that weird like gray area where like there are people who love using it because it's great for them in terms of like idea generation and helping like further their business, and then there's the other side of people who are probably a little bit confused or they completely like neglect it like full. They're like, nah, I'm not gonna do AI. Like I don't want no like computer
Right,
telling me
right,
what to
right.
do. But it's like it eventually AI is inevitable. Like it's gonna keep growing and keep growing. So how do you try your best in your way to like try to teach it to people? It's like, oh wait, hold on, it's not a bad thing, or like it's not something we should be neglecting. You could actually use it to your benefit. So I can see how again
Mhm.
like having digital skills is super important, especially in this climate, in this environment today where technology just keeps on growing and keeps on growing. And that actually translates to my next question I want to ask. Do you feel like there's a lesser focus on like interpersonal skills and more focus on those digital skills where, job applications are kind of focusing on like, I need you to be able to do like all the techie side of things. I need you to be tech savvy then rather than just like having the basic interpersonal skills, like more of like, oh, like problem solving or stuff like that. Do you feel like there's a
Yeah,
lesser focus, or do you feel like they're trying to find a balance in between like interpersonal skills and digital skills?
that's such an interesting question. And okay, so this is the way I would answer that, right? The digital skill is it's kind of like the screen test, right? So that's going to narrow you down and find you people with that skill, right? So
Mhm.
I'm going to have a candidate like it's kind of crazy, but if you go like some of these applications have like 300, 400 people applying, right? That's kind of on the not on the low side, but that's pretty common.
Mhm.
So when it comes to the skill set, and when you talk about technology, the technology is built to match, give me the top 20 out of that 300, give me the top 30, give me the top 10 or whatever, depending on the parameters you kind of set. So that's going to get you the interview or get you in the room. But then the interpersonal skills is what's going to separate you from the competition, right? So, perfect example is presentations, right? Like I used to do presentations for um all types of businesses, right? Large, small, e-commerce, schools. Actually, another fun fact, okay? I actually used to do marketing in China, right? So we had a Chinese marketing team and I was part of it. Okay. And we used to do like marketing in China, Chinese ads, different Chinese brands. And one
Mhm.
time, I guess I could say like Jameson was our client, like the vitamins,
Mhm.
and they were doing a campaign in China. for like Chinese New Year, and one of the CEO was coming to our office, and I was the only one there. So I was like, now I got to report and put together like a strategy and recap about like our Chinese market, but I'm not Chinese. But yeah, but I did it anyways. So, anyways, what the point is, you gotta be ready to show out, right? You gotta be ready when the lights are on, the cameras are on. People are gonna remember who came across the most confident, who was the most creative, who came up with a solution that was outside of the box, right? Like that's the things that people are gonna remember. So if I have two people that can do data and analytics, but one person is, character wise is a certain way, comes off like with problem solving and like more of those transferable soft skills, then, that's what I'm going to remember more than, because I can teach you how to do the data,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's how I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, I could always just, I just need you to know how to press the buttons and be interested in that type of stuff. But once you get in, I'm going to teach you all that stuff anyways. But I can't teach you how to work hard. I can't teach you how to be curious, right? That's one of my things. Whenever I train people, I'm like, if they don't ask a lot of questions, I'm not really convinced, because people that they go, oh, I know the answer. Yeah, I know the answer. Is like, but when the time comes, do you really know the answer? You're going to have questions. So somebody that's curious, somebody that can challenge ideas and doesn't conform with the regular status quo, problem solver, communicator, somebody that's not afraid to pick up the phone, call, ask questions. These are the things that you're going to make you stand out. It's just like
Definitely.
it's just like the content, right? A lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't really want to post. I don't really want to. What do I put my picture?" I'm like, "Okay, well, who's gonna see you then?" You know what I'm saying? And actually, I'll give you another story because that's how I'm actually sitting here. When I was working, like I used to do a lot of presentations for businesses, or like,
Mm-hmm.
but they're private, right? Like you're just sitting with the CEO, a couple people, you're like in a boardroom or whatever. But actually, when I halfway through my career and I started going to like a lot of conferences, so I would go to like Facebook and Google and all these different tech conferences, just like Collision, right? And I was like, I would always see these people speaking on stage, right? And I went back to my agency and I was like, I want to talk at these things, right? And the funny thing is, because a lot of people would always say, because I came back and I was like, who's our person that like talks at our events and everything? And everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to do my job or whatever. So I'm like, well, if so many people don't want to do public speaking, then that's the perfect place to be because nobody else wants to do it. So I could shine, I could take over, right? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so then I started pursuing that. And the funny thing is, so that's what I ended up speaking at so many different places. I spoke at Google, I spoke at Facebook. And then when I would speak, people would come up to me and they'll be like, I've never seen a black guy talking at like a tech event before. Right. So then I would start getting invited to speak at all these different schools and whatever. And then that's how I got into, it's a combination, whether I'm doing training or I'm doing a keynote, it all kind of stems from that moment where I was like, you know what? I want to brand myself as a speaker because there's a gap of like people that don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. I appreciate you, sharing all these stories as well, because I think that's what we're all about here on the Safe Room, having that stories that people can share so it kind of resonates with them. So again, the fact that at the time being, no one was really into public speaking. You kind of saw the opportunity, and now it's kind of become where, you've been really good at it and you'll be able to, adapt to it, and you've been able to make this as like your mainstay. I think it's super important. And even the way you kind of broke down like the digital skills, it's like a screen test. Like that's something that you got to make sure you kind of stick out from like the huge crowd, the huge rally. Then if you get chosen for the interview, that's when the interpersonal skills start to come out into play. So I think that's super important because again, I think for a lot of people, for some people who are looking for jobs still, it's
Mhm.
rough. It's still
It
rough,
is, man.
and
It is.
yeah,
And
I mean,
But
like,
I'll give you the flip side too, right? And that's actually so. And going back to another reason why I started the Tech Effect, because, and this is actually kind of way throwback, like in the beginning. Like I don't even really talk about this, but I should, because what used to happen is because I used to do a lot of hiring, right? And I used to be like very intentional with hiring. diverse team, right? So I'm like, if I have like 5 people from agency backgrounds, I'm like, I want like an artist or that knows marketing, or I want somebody that's creative. Like, give me somebody different, you know. But what I kind of start like what I came up with the concept was, if I'm interviewing, right? So if I interview 7 people and I hire one person, what about the other 6? Right? Because they made it through the screen test. So it's not like they're not necessarily a good fit, but we only have one position open. Right. So part of what when I started the Tech Effect is, what if you had a platform where those other 6 people could be kind of like referred, right? Because if
Right.
I'm agency A and I interview 6 people, person number 2 and 3 might be perfect for another place that needs somebody, you know? So kind of
Mm,
like thinking about it that way. But yeah, so going back to what I wanted to say in relation to that of hiring, is the job market is rough, right? And everybody's situation is different in terms of urgency, right? So obviously, if you need something right away because of your financial situation or whatever, like, you just got to take whatever you can. You know what I'm saying?
right, right.
So that's kind of like what I talk to people about too. I'm like, well, what's your runway? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you need something in 3 months? You have 6 months? You got a year? Got 2 years? Like, right? Because some people get laid off. They're like, oh, I got like 6 months, right? Or some
Mm,
people need visas, so they're like, yo, I got to get a job before my visa in September or whatever, right?
mm-hmm.
So now it's like, okay, depending on your window, anyways, like, to get to the point, is that not every job is going to be the right fit, right? So part of
Yeah,
being resilient and part of being confident in yourself in knowing that, 7 out of 10 of them, you're not even really going to want them. Yes, you're going to
right.
still talk to them. Yes, you're still going to put the work in, right? It's that 80-20 rule again. You just need to hit that one. And if you're intentional about like where you want to be and the type of place you want to be in, when you actually find it, it will be the right place for you. Because
Definitely.
the person on the other side making the hiring decision, they might not be as flexible. They might not have an open mindset. They might not, right? They might be stuck in the don't ever use AI type of mindset, or do this type of mindset. And you maybe don't want that. You want somebody that's flexible, somebody who understands your culture, somebody who can work with you in terms of your demographic. So there's no right or wrong answer, but we all just have to find the right fit, right? And like
Yeah.
what I believe is that through digital skills, you put yourself in a position to um be hired at a great company, right? So people will hire you for your skill, both
Mm,
transferable and hard skills. It's in demand. A lot of companies need it. It's fun. It's growing. But also, you can freelance, right? So if you don't have that job, or if you get laid off, because I've been laid off before, right? But what I do is, if I get laid off, I'm right there. I'm consulting now because I could do marketing.
yeah.
I have that skill set. So now you have like a confidence, or like a sense of freedom, where if you want to go 9 to 5, you can, but you can also freelance, or you can just use these skills to grow your own business. Like, I run a high school program, okay, high school entrepreneurship program, and there were the high school team made keychains, and they sold
Mhm.
like 800 units, man, 700 units, like four
Wow.
or 5 months. So it's like, the opportunities are out there. You just gotta be confident and test them out, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm really glad that you share it, because I feel like there are some people listening feeling like, if you do get laid off, then it's like, if you want to get into freelance, you can definitely do that. But it's like you mentioned multiple times, it's like the 80-20 rule. Like, sometimes you're gonna have to go through those failures until you find like that one thing. And I think that applies whether you're applying for a job or even when you're in the realm of entrepreneurship. So I think that's super important to always keep into heart. Like, you're gonna have to go through those denials, those no's, those
Mhm.
like, "Are you sorry," and everything like that,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
eventually find the right thing for you for sure. Um I'm just looking. I do have one more question, and then I have one final activity. I hope we're good on time. So I just want to make sure. But I hope we're good on time. But another question I do want to ask you is that you mentioned before that again, you guys do like training and coaching and mentoring and everything like that. I want to ask, like, what are some of the main problems or the main issues that some people come to you and approach you that they have, and how do some of your programs that you guys have in store, and like I know you guys have a good amount of programs. I'm pulling it up right now, and I'm going to your IG posts. Like I want to make sure I'm going to the recent
I could
IG
break
posts
it
that you
down,
put.
man. I could break it down. I can break it down.
Yeah, but like how do you try your best to like implement, or I guess kind of solve the problems that people come to you or that they're asking you about through the programs that you guys have?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. And it's, going back to what we were saying about like failure and taking time, it takes time to learn your audience and learn your business and your solution and come up with um the right solution for your audience, right? Like um yeah, so for us, so back to your question, so three things. So we have there's three areas that people come to that they need help with when it's, they come to us. So they're transitioning, they want to upskill, they want to start their career, or they want to, get a promotion or change careers. The first thing is skill development, right? So there's usually a skills gap, the hard skills that they have now versus where they need to be in order to get the job that they want, right? So they might have a little bit of data experience, but they need to get certified and do some other stuff. Um, so that's the first thing. So skill development. So we help them like close that gap, identify what it is, and create that path like specific to um, their situation, right? So that's part of it, is like everybody's situation is a little different. So you need something that is necessary for you, not necessary for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step. So identifying your strengths and your skill set and how you can build your skills over the next X amount of months or years to get to where you want to go. The second thing is the personal brand, right? So it's how do you communicate that skill set? Right. So how does that show up online? How does that show up when you're in networking events? How does that show up when you're talking to people, when you're in interviews? Right. You have to have your brand positioned in a specific way so that you become known for that thing. Right. So just like I was saying with speaking, that's what I was very intentional about. I'm like, I want to talk, I want to speak. So they go, oh, I saw you speaking on LinkedIn, or I saw you speaking on IG, or I was at one of your workshops. Can you come speak at another one? Right. So that you have to be very intentional about, right? It's not going to just happen. So it's about packaging your skills and the skills to get you where you want to go, but branding yourself to be the top choice for that job, right? So if I want to get into um, e-commerce, right, and help online brands sell product online, then I got to be the e-commerce guy, right? I got to talk about Shopify. I got to talk about e-com. I got to talk about sales. I got to talk about Black Friday. Right? So eventually you're going to be like, yo, Kareem's the guy who always talk about e-com. I got a store. I got to hit him up. Like that's right. But you got to put yourself and brand yourself like that, right?
Right.
So that's the branding piece. And then the third piece is networking, right? And networking is actually a crazy, crazy word. Because I'm like, man, networking is very, very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Maintaining multiple relationships over time, it takes like a lot of effort and it takes like a lot of serious attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being selective, right? Being intentional with who you meet, how you're going to network with them, and what you expect from them and how they can support you. But yeah, again, not just networking to collect numbers, but really being intentional with, one of our guest speakers on our podcast had broke it down kind of like a board of directors. So you need a sponsor, you need a mentor, you need a coach. All right. So somebody that can help you a sponsor, somebody who can help you in the business world, actually put your name up for different roles and get you jobs. A mentor that's been where you've been before and can kind of guide you. And then a coach, right? Somebody that can point out your difficulties and help you get there. So yeah, kind of like build it. So that's the third area, right? Connecting with people, with mentors, industry connections that we have built over time, so that they get bumped to the top of the list because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's a big part of it too. Like our focus is we help everybody, but we're here to help people that are underrepresented, don't get the opportunities, non-traditional, right? So a good example we always think about is like, okay, what if you're not in school? Like a lot of people
Mhm.
hire out of schools, or we go to universities and we go to colleges or whatever, but what about the people who are not? So how do we reach them? How do we see their portfolios and provide them with opportunities? Because again, you combine a few university cats with a couple of non-traditional creative cats that just came up, and then you put them together. It's like boom, it's like street magic art. You know what I'm saying? It's like so yeah, so that's the third one, networking. So personal development of your skills, branding yourself so people can recognize you for those skills and they can reach out to you, right? Because part of it is you applying, but part of it is people finding you. And then the last thing is network, man. How do you get that message out there to the right people, so they can find you? So those are the three common challenges amongst most people. And then how do we solve that? So we have our two major programs that we're doing now. One is personal branding. It's called the Branding Blueprint. So that's a 6-week program. That's for people who need that, intensive. They want to build their brand. They're really looking for something. They're looking for that next level of their career. So that's 6-week one-on-one coaching, teaching you how to build your brand, position yourself, position your story, communicate that online. And then so that's one. And then the second one is our mentorship mastermind program. So that's for people who are a little bit more established, right? So they might already be working. They already have their brand kind of solidified in terms of like they have their skill, they're working somewhere, or they have that experience, but they don't have any connections, right? So a lot of times they're like, yo, I could do this work. I've been doing it for so long, but I'm new to the country, or I just don't know anybody. I just need to meet people who can basically put me on. So we have like a whole mentorship program that's not necessarily just like, here's a mentor, go do your thing. It's more actually like it's skill building, right? So it helps you to get that hands-on experience with your skills that we talked about. We always cover the branding piece of how to build up your brand a little bit, and where do you want to go, so that now and how do you work with a mentor, so now when you actually work with that person, you know what to do and you know what you want, right? Because again, I've mentored a lot of people, and I'm like, okay, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for informal, formal, long term, short term? You want to help you find a job, or is this more like a life mentor? And people are like, well, I'm not really sure. So
Right.
if you're very clear on the type of, so we kind of bridge that gap again, where we help you identify the type of mentor and help that you need, and then connect you with the person who can do that the best for you, and
Mhm.
go from there. So
Definitely. All right. Yeah.
yes,
Hope you guys
sir.
are taking notes. I hope you're taking notes because
Yeah,
there's
hit
a
up the
lot
Tech
of
Effect, man. The techeffect.ca. Hit us up on LinkedIn, hit us up on IG. Our programs are live. You could register. And yeah, we're gonna build. And then the last piece too, which we kind of talked about, which is, this is a part that we're also working on, right? And we do have in place, but we want to scale that, is having partner um employers connected, right? So part of it is you do projects, you showcase your work, and the people who are reviewing your work are brands, agencies who would potentially be hiring as well, right?
okay.
So,
Good to
yeah.
know. I think I'm gonna have to tap in afterwards for that
Yo,
one.
tap in. Let's go, man. It's time to go, man.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I before we move on, TYB. I know you're. This is the first time I've ever done this, but like, how are we on time? I just have one more thing. You don't have to even poke. You could just put on your mic and just let me know how are we on time, because I have one more thing to do. Just one more thing. I want to be mindful. If not, just let me know. Just because I know we've been having a really great conversation, and I just want to wrap things up with something fun. Nothing too crazy, but if we're good on time, I think we'll be fine. He's not saying anything, but I think we're good. Okay, Kareem, we're gonna try to do this last thing, okay?
Let's do it.
Um, I have this last little fun activity to wrap things up. It's been a fun conversation, and again, for people who have stayed throughout, thank you. And for those who are coming in, you're listening to the Safe Room here on Love Bay Radio, our fantastic guest, Kareem Perez. It's honestly, I have to say, for a conversation that should have been done a year ago, like it was worth the wait. There was a lot of gems dropped.
You need a
Okay,
part two, man. I did a lot. Actually, I'm
for
only talking
real.
about the stuff that happened already. I'm not talking about the stuff that's in the pipeline coming
That's
out,
what I'm
man.
saying. I think we might have to get you back like very soon. But okay, TYB is giving me the green light. Okay, we can go ahead. And just look at the comments. Appreciate the love, Jada. Shout out to you. Shout out to the fam, to the fam. I just want to do this quick little thing and something a little bit fun on the fun side of things. So what I have here, Kareem, is like this little, I want to say a chart, but I know you said like you mentioned budgets. So like how are you with budgets, would you say?
I mean, I get them approved.
Okay. Well, okay. So you mentioned budgets and you did mention, working out and exercising. So I decided to combine the two. So
Okay.
for this, you have $15 to spend to build your workout routine. Okay. So I have 5 different categories. Okay. There's upper body, lower body, cardio, stretching, and basically like
Okay.
a workout meal slash snack. For each category, there's an exercise or a meal, snack, whatever. And for each exercise, there's a dollar amount, there's a dollar value. So you might get $5 for this exercise, $4 for this exercise, three, two, one. That's how it works. Okay. So again, you
Yeah.
have $15 in total, and you have to try to build your workout routine through each category and through some of the dollar values, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So 550 or 15?
Like $5, like 1 5.
Okay, 15. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 5. So if that makes sense, does that make sense in a
Yeah,
way?
yeah,
I just want
yeah,
to make
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's
All
good.
right, cool. All right, let's try it out. Let's try with the first category. So the first category I have here is upper body. Okay, so for $5, you can spend it on muscle ups. For $4, you can get barbell bench press. For $3, you could spend it on pull ups. For $2, you could spend it on skull crushers. Or for $1, you could spend it on dumbbell shoulder press.
So is this 15 for all categories
It's 15 in total.
in
So like you
total?
have
Okay, so if I
$15.
use 5 now, then and how many categories is there?
There's 5 categories in
Okay, there's
total. So this is
5.
the first category. So you could spend $5, but then again, you'll have $10 left for all the remaining categories. You could spend $3.
Okay,
It's
go
up
again.
to
Say
you.
say the options again.
Okay. So for $5, you could spend it on muscle ups. For
Yeah.
$4, you could spend it on barbell bench press. For
Mm.
$3, you could spend it on pull ups. For $2, you could spend it on skull crushers. And for $1, you could spend it on dumbbell shoulder press.
Okay, I'm gonna go 5. I'm gonna go muscle ups. I'm gonna go
What
muscle ups.
off the rip?
Yeah, off the
$5?
rip. You know why? Because muscle ups is like it's a crazy exercise, first of all, in terms of what it does for you, but it looks sick, yo. So when you're in the gym and you just people will be like, damn, this guy is doing his thing right now. So I'll do it for the workout, but I'll do it for the gram too, yo. Give me the
Okay.
muscle ups.
All right. I respect it. Okay, so $5 a muscle up. Let me bold it so that way I don't get this lost in my notes when we review. Okay, so $5 in a muscle ups. Okay, so now you have $10 left. Okay, for all the remaining categories. So we're moving on to lower body now. Okay, so for $5, you could spend on deadlifts. For $4, you could spend it on barbell squats. For $3, you could spend it on hip thrusts. For $2, you could spend it on leg press. And for $1, you could spend it on lunges.
Okay, I'm definitely not doing lunges. Definitely not doing hip thrusts. I'm gonna go leg press. What was that? 3?
That was $2 for leg
2?
press.
Yeah, I'm gonna go leg press. I'm gonna go leg press. Yeah. Because
Okay.
same as the first. You know, put some extra weight on there, put some plates on there. It looks heavier than
Mm.
it really is, man. It's a good It's a good shot for the gram. I'm making a reel right now off of these different moves.
I like your strategy. You're like, what's gonna be like the most appealing IG reel for people who are scrolling down? I like your strategy.
Yeah,
Okay,
man.
okay, okay. All right. Quickly before on, what's your PR on leg press, if I may ask?
Oh man, I don't know that because all of my PRs are based on CrossFit
Okay,
Olympic moves. So yeah, I've maybe I guess three. What is it? 345 plates is what
345. I
three
know,
forty
like
fives on each side is like 325 or something or
something
320.
like that. Like, listen,
Yeah,
I'm usually good at math, but the math's not mathing right now for me, so I don't even want to try to
yeah.
like calculate it.
Well, I guess it's like without the bar. So
Yeah, the bar. I think without the bar is like
because
45
with the bar
pounds.
it's like 315, so I think it's maybe like 275, 285 or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Something
somewhere
like
in
that.
there, three or four. I don't have very strong legs, so
Okay, yeah. All
yeah.
right. Okay, going on to the next one. Next one's cardio. Okay. So
Mm.
for $5, you can do the Stairmaster. For $4, you can do burpees. For $3, you can do the treadmill. For $2, you can do jump rope. And for $1, you can do box jumps. And just to remind you, you have, I believe, $8 left to spend in your budget.
Yeah, I'll go treadmill. I love the treadmill, man. I always kill it. I always kill the treadmill. I love running, yo. I run it outside, inside. Um,
Okay. I like that. I like
yeah,
that
man.
choice. The treadmill. You can't go wrong with the treadmill. Are you doing
I'm a
like
long distance. I'm a marathon runner, man. I got long legs.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Are you on do you do like the incline on the treadmill?
So actually, the treadmill I've been using recently, it has like these programs on it. So it's pretty
Mhm.
cool. Like you put the time. So if you put like 30 minutes and then there's like 8 or 9 different programs and then it switches for you. So it would be like
Oh,
faster, slower, incline, sprints, like whatever. So I've been killing
okay.
that a lot. But nah, honestly, for the most part, I'm just a flat runner, man. Like just give me like 45 minutes, 8K, 10K. I like to run long distances,
Mhm.
inside or outside. So whatever.
All right, all right. That's good to hear. Okay. Going on to the stretching. Okay. So you're just to recap, you spend five
Do I
dollars
have to
on
spend
muscle.
money on this? Because I'm scared.
Come on, man. The stretch is important, Kareem.
Yo, I went to
Uh
this Pilates class once, man. I couldn't do any of the moves, yo. I never went back.
Hey, listen, like, but that just means like there's room for improvement. I know, like, again, knowing you, you're gonna be very determined. So maybe that's the next step. Maybe it's like getting that
Some areas I
stretching.
can't do all areas, man.
Oh, that's
I'm tapped
okay.
out, yo. But you know, go. Let's go. Let's hear what you
Yeah.
got.
Okay. So
Yeah.
just to recap again, you spend $5 on muscle ups, you spend $2 on leg press, and you spent $3 on treadmill. So you only have $5 left going to these last two categories. So for
Okay. Okay.
stretching, you could spend $5 on doing a pigeon pose. For $4, you could spend it on doing a Superman. You can spend $3 on toe touches. You can spend $2 on a lunge with like a spinal twist combination, or you could spend $1 on a quad stretch. Very simple.
Yeah, I'm gonna go quad.
Okay. Okay. It
Yeah,
kind of
that's
ties into like the whole like the leg routine with like the
what I
treadmill
do.
leg
Yeah,
press.
I'll stretch it out after I do a couple quad things and I'm out.
Okay, perfect, perfect.
I
So,
actually I have a reel like that. It's like a running. I'll send it to you after, but it's like kind of things that runners always do or whatever.
okay, okay.
Yeah. And it's like at the beginning, I'm like doing the quad stretch. Yo.
Mm, yeah, I can definitely see that. Okay, so
Yeah.
going into the final category, you only have $4 left. So you could spend all four. Maybe you say, you know what, if there's something like cheaper that I can get, then I'll just do that and have some money remaining. So it's up to you. But you can't get the $5. That's a scratch already.
Right.
So the final category, which is the workout meal slash snack. So this could be like, let's just say this
Oh,
is
that's
afterwards,
crazy.
like a post workout meal in a sense.
That's
Okay,
crazy.
so $5, and if you still had some money, you would have got the grilled chicken and sweet potatoes. So there's that. For $4, you could have spent on protein shake with a protein shake and banana. For $3, you have whole wheat toast with avocado and eggs. For
Mhm.
$2, a protein bar. And for $1, some Greek yogurt with honey. Very simple.
So at first I was gonna go with the protein shake and spend the 4, but I'm gonna spend the 3.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna go,
the the the,
yeah,
the
I'm gonna go with the
toast and the
avocado
avocado and
toast.
egg. Okay.
Yeah, you got the avocado toast, little joint, again for the gram that looks little, everybody loves a little avocado toast joint, come on. But yo, but on
Okay.
top of that, I'm gonna tip that dollar, yo. I'm gonna leave that. So when I come back next time, I'll be like, yo, keep the dollar, man. I'm gonna come back next time tomorrow. I'm gonna be blessed, yo. They're gonna be like, oh yeah,
Okay,
remember this
okay.
guy?
I love that. You know what? Since we've done this, I actually want to challenge you. If you could actually do the selections you did for a video, for a reel. So just to recap, if you could do muscle ups, leg press, treadmill, do some quad stretch, and have the avocado toast, I think you need to post that for some content now.
All right, I got you. I got you. I got you. I
Okay.
could do that. I could do
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
I just
So
gotta. I just gotta bring the tripod to the gym joint. But I guess a challenge is a challenge, yo.
Definitely, for sure, for sure. But I mean, you have only $1 left, so that's good. You didn't blow out your entire budget. But I really like your selections. And again, I love the approach. You were thinking like, all right, we're going for like social media, like real type of vibes with all my
Yo,
exercises.
optimize, man. Get that workout, get that content. You are the content, man. My boy Duff
Mm.
Media always says that, yo. You are the content, so
Shout out to
why
Duffy,
not?
shout out to David,
Yeah,
man. Shout out to him.
yeah.
But yeah, that's all the questions. That's everything I have for today. So, Kareem, I just want to say thank you for coming on to the safe room. Thank you for just all the information you shared, the knowledge. Again, we have to do a part two because I still feel like we could be going, but I definitely don't want to like I want to respect the time. So I mean, like, we might have to get
Yeah.
you back very soon for a part two.
Yeah, hit me up, man. Hit me up. Let me get that reel going. And yo, shout out to the safe room. Yo, you've been doing it, man, since I first met you, like we talked about before the show started. Yo, you've been hustling, man. So just keep doing it. You got the bigger platform. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, man, let's keep getting it. Hit me up for the
Appreciate
part
it,
two.
man. Of course, of course. Quickly, just let people know where they can follow the Tech Effect on social media and where they can connect with you.
Yeah, yeah. So the techeffect.ca, head over to our website. All of our social links are there. We're on Instagram at the Tech Effect. We're on LinkedIn at the Tech Effect. And for me, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, Kareem Perez. Just Google me, baby, and I'll pop right up. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm out there. We're helping the community. We're building skills. We're building businesses. So yeah, man, I'm down to build. Let's get in touch and yeah, let's build as a community.
All right, love that. And again, for everyone who stayed through the entire conversation, much appreciation. You can go check out the Safe Room at the Safe Room Official on Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Safe Room. We are looking to get some content rolling there. And for anyone listening, we're looking to start implementing our own services. One of the offers that I've looking to introduce is a video business plan. If you want a little bit more details on that, hit me up on Instagram. Send a DM and say, "Hey, Sean, I heard you mentioned something about a video business plan. What does that mean exactly?" Just hit me up. I'll share all the details, and I'm definitely looking to build my clientele as we are going with this journey for the safe route. But until then, make sure you guys tap in next week, Thursday, to your favorite show on Love Bay Radio. But until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace, yo.